I knew that I couldn't afford to fail because it was the only thing that I knew how to do. And
Steve McQueen, an actor unparalleled in his distinctive tough guy demeanor, rugged charm, and an unyielding passion for high-speed pursuits, led a life as exhilarating and intense as the characters he portrayed on the silver screen. The essence of what shaped a man like McQueen lies in a narrative rich with extraordinary experiences. From facing the harsh realities of life on the streets at the tender age of 9 to finding himself employed in a provocative environment in the Dominican Republic before even reaching 20, McQueen's journey was far from ordinary. That same note accentuates every part of his life, up to his death. He died as he lived vivaciously. Today, we'll look at the story of this Hollywood icon, especially how his battle with Hollywood ended.
you are a loner? Yeah. I don't know. I suppose that opposites attract, but I guess it was ever a thing of falling in love with a girl at first sight.
Whether it was the adversity he encountered during his formative years, his improbable ascent to stardom, or the gripping culmination of his life, the saga of Steve McQueen, Hollywood's indomitable king of cool, was a riveting tale of constant intrigue. Terrence Stephen, better known as Steve McQueen, defied the stereotype of a mere pretty boy actor by immersing himself in a life filled with gritty pursuits. McQueen's existence was synonymous with the relentless pursuit of speed, as he dedicated a significant portion of his days to competing in challenging endurance classics and daring off-road motorcycle races. The roots of his insatiable need for speed can be traced back to his father, William McQueen, whose profession held a place among the coolest jobs in history.
You know, for me, motorcycles are still my first love, but a vehicle like this is an all-purpose recreational vehicle for the family. It's something that'll work in the sand or in the woods.
William McQueen made his living as a stunt pilot in a thrilling flying circus, executing hair-raising stunts aboard a precarious old biplane. The daring exploits of his father in the skies undoubtedly played a pivotal role in shaping Steve into the adrenaline junkie he became. However, the legacy passed on by William McQueen was not one solely defined by daring feats. Tragically, he left Steve's mother, Julia, just 6 months after their initial encounter, leaving her pregnant and facing the challenges of parenthood alone.
I had to get out and earn a little bread. I had to get out and earn a living. Oh, what do I remember most about my childhood? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Steve McQueen's mother, plagued by a string of unfortunate relationships, bore the brunt of this abandonment, and her son would go on to experience the repercussions time and time again. Regrettably for young Steve, his 20-year-old mother, Julia Ann Crawford, was ill-prepared for the responsibilities of motherhood. Wrestling with a drinking problem and a penchant for relationships with violent individuals, she struggled to prioritize her son. A turning point came when she made the decision to send her boy to reside with his grandparents in Slater, Missouri. This change in environment marked the beginning of some of the most cherished days in Steve McQueen's life. However, in the unpredictable journey of his existence, trouble always lurked around the corner.
You did come from a broken family, and you went through probably, 50-odd jobs?
I went through an awful lot.
Recollections of his days on the Missouri farm remained etched in McQueen's memory as some of the happiest moments of his life, a fleeting period of idyllic and pastoral bliss. However, the tranquility couldn't endure indefinitely. His mother abruptly uprooted him from this serene backdrop, thrusting him into a nightmarish reality. Battling dyslexia and grappling with slight deafness resulting from a childhood ear infection, McQueen faced formidable challenges in the academic realm. Yet, if the struggles at school were daunting, the turbulence awaiting him at home proved even more harrowing.
Very far. You didn't dig school, I know that.
Oh, I liked it all right.
Julia's new husband, marked by a volatile temper, subjected young Steve McQueen to frequent and severe beatings. The situation escalated to such an extent that at the tender age of 9, McQueen felt compelled to escape the brutal environment, opting to live on the unforgiving streets. The abrupt shift from a nurturing family and a serene farm life in Missouri to the harsh reality of homelessness on the streets of Indianapolis was a stark transformation. Fear for his life became a constant companion during this tumultuous time. Inevitably, the traumatic experiences of his childhood set McQueen on a dark and challenging path.
I know that when I was studying in New York, I knew that I couldn't afford to fail because it was the only thing that I knew how to do.
In a cruel twist of fate, McQueen found solace in the company of a street gang in Indianapolis, an association formed during an age when most children were immersed in the innocence of play and school-related concerns. Rather than partaking in typical childhood activities, Steve McQueen roamed the city engaging in petty acts. Despite the absence of his mother's support throughout his tumultuous upbringing, even she began to recognize the ominous trajectory her son was on, a path leading toward a life behind bars. Faced with this stark reality, she resolved to take action, yet consistent with past patterns, it involved passing the responsibility to another. The strategy had worked once before, so why not try it again? Julia, in a bid to redirect her son's troubled path, sent McQueen back to live with his family in Missouri. The return to the countryside likely brought a sense of relief for the young boy, but the respite was short-lived. At the age of 12, McQueen's mother's turbulent marriage to her troublesome second husband fell apart, prompting a move to sunny Los Angeles in pursuit of a fresh start, with her son in tow.
I fly off the handle. I do believe one thing, though, that I believe that I want to lead the type of life that I want to lead. In other words, my private life is my own.
Hopes for a brighter future were in the air, but Julia's track record suggested otherwise. She seldom remained single for extended periods. Entering into her third marriage, it was evident that she didn't exactly gravitate towards fatherly types. At the age of 14, Steve McQueen quietly slipped away from his great-uncle's farm, leaving without a farewell. Perhaps drawing inspiration from tales of his elusive father, McQueen harbored a deep yearning for a life filled with adventure, a desire he swiftly realized. Initially trying his hand at circus life, it became apparent that he wasn't cut out for the role of a rodeo clown.
Found himself through a boys retreat, because he was breaking the law, and they sent him off to this place, and then they told him to taught these kids how to train wild horses.
His stint in the circus proved short-lived, leading McQueen back to Los Angeles to reunite with his mother and stepfather. However, this return marked a distinct shift. McQueen was in the throes of adolescence, and a discernible dark side had begun to emerge within him. Upon his return to Los Angeles, McQueen seamlessly slipped back into his street life routine. Caught in the act of stealing hubcaps at one point, officers intervened and delivered him back to his mother's residence. Waiting for him was his stepfather, and as soon as the officers departed, the familiar pattern repeated itself. McQueen was subjected to another brutal beating, a painful ritual he had endured many times before. However, this particular assault took a more sinister turn, reaching a crescendo as McQueen's stepfather threw him down a flight of stairs.
But it's an intuitive yourself? Yeah, I did. It's self-therapy. I mean, that's what it is.
In a moment shrouded in uncertainty, it's unclear what triggered it, but something in McQueen finally snapped. Reclined at the foot of the staircase, Steve McQueen gazed up at his stepfather and uttered a chilling threat. "You lay your stinking hands on me again, and I swear I'll you." A palpable intensity emanated from his eyes, and for the first time, his mother and stepfather took his words seriously. Though their relationship had been tumultuous for years, this was an ominous shift, a departure from the familiar discord. This moment marked the initiation of a new and decisive chapter in the life of Steve McQueen. McQueen's mother, finding her usual recourse of sending him back to Slater ineffective, resorted to drastic measures. Her husband persuaded her to sign court papers officially declaring McQueen as incorrigible. This legal maneuver paved the way for his enrollment in the California Junior Boys Republic, a boarding school designed for troubled youths in Chino. While the subsequent journey at the Boys Republic would eventually lead to a remarkable turnaround in Steve McQueen's life, its inception mirrored the beginning of any other nightmarish ordeal. Initially resembling a prison, the boarding school proved to be precisely the transformative experience McQueen required. By the age of 16, he emerged as a wholly transformed individual, carrying with him a deep appreciation for the institution that molded him into the person he became. Despite attaining wealth and fame, McQueen consistently revisited Boys Republic throughout his life, dedicating time to engage with students.
Dishwashing, truck driving, post office, everything.
While McQueen successfully departed from his tumultuous past, it didn't signify a settling down for him. On the contrary, this marked the point where his life took a more chaotic turn. Steve McQueen packed more adventures into his late teens than many experiences in a lifetime. Following his departure from Chino, he reunited with his mother in Greenwich Village, New York. However, the bustling city life didn't hold him for long. Encountering two merchant marines, they convinced him to embark on a nautical journey. Before he knew it, McQueen found himself aboard a ship headed for the Dominican Republic.
You see, I started in New York as a stage actor, and I was on Broadway. Replaced Ben Kazar in Hatful of Rain and was on tour with a national company as an actor.
And if the idea of a teenager spontaneously joining the Merchant Marines seems wild, brace yourself for the even more extraordinary twist in McQueen's unfolding story. The sailor's life didn't quite capture Steve McQueen's interest. Upon reaching the Dominican Republic, he swiftly abandoned his maritime duties and took an unexpected turn by securing a job at a cat house, signaling the commencement of McQueen's bohemian era. However, his stay there was brief. Soon, he found himself back in Texas, working in a carnival. From there, his journey led him to Canada, where he embraced the life of a lumberjack.
I looked around town at all the scripts that were being submitted to me, and I didn't think they were very good. I never really had confidence in myself as an actor.
McQueen, demonstrating an inherent aversion to being tied down, seamlessly transitioned from one job to another, traversing cities and countries over a span of approximately 2 years, all of this before reaching the age of 18. The Navy may seem an unconventional choice for someone as restless as McQueen, but that's precisely where he found himself in 1947. Despite not yet being 18, McQueen managed to secure special permission from his mother to enlist. It appears that she was willing to explore any option to keep him off the streets, and the Marines seemed a more preferable alternative. With that, McQueen joined the Marines and embarked on the journey to boot camp. One of the regrets he talked about was, "I had built friendships about drugs and alcohol," and he wished he would have built friendships that were based on solid ground instead. And he was a moody guy. He was definitely a difficult guy to live with. I talked to 2 of his wives, and they said that he came from that old school mentality where he was the man and they were the woman. They were there to serve him dinner and make love to him at night. As for how the consummate rebel fared in the Navy, well, let's just say it wasn't a smooth ride for McQueen. McQueen's military journey began on a positive note, earning him a promotion to private first class. However, his rebellious nature quickly took center stage, leading to a series of demotions, with McQueen being busted down to private 7 times. Yet these demotions were just the tip of the iceberg.
Spooky, scary. And I started negotiations actually with Becca to do Waiting for Godot. That was my first choice.
His defiance reached a peak when authorities found him in dereliction of duty, spending weeks with a girlfriend after his leave had officially ended. The consequences were severe. Detainment. Predictably, McQueen didn't surrender quietly. His resistance led to a 41-day stint in the brig. Despite the rocky start in the Marines, a different facet of McQueen began to emerge as his military journey unfolded. Remarkably, McQueen's time in the brig seemed to have a transformative effect as he shifted gears and evolved into a model Marine thereafter. The pinnacle of his military career unfolded during a grueling Arctic exercise. In the midst of frozen waters, disaster struck when McQueen's ship struck a sandbar, plunging several men into the icy waves. In a display of courage, McQueen leaped into action, rescuing 5 fellow Marines and bringing them to safety before the cold waters could claim them. This act showcased a side of McQueen that went beyond the image of a mere rebel.
I read several classics. I'm not a learned person. I don't read. I've never read Stanislavski or Boleslavsky. I don't know very much about art or music.
However, the narrative wasn't destined to be one of Steve McQueen, the renowned Marine. By the age of 22, it was evident that McQueen was on the cusp of discovering his true calling. In 1952, having dabbled in a myriad of jobs, Steve McQueen had yet to try his hand at the one he would ultimately become famous for: acting. True to form, McQueen embraced the opportunity for a new experience. Utilizing the funds from the GI Bill, enrolled in acting classes in New York City, learning from esteemed teachers such as Sanford Meisner and U.T.A. Hagen. Acting introduced McQueen to an entirely different realm, and he proved to be a quick learner in this new venture. Moreover, the world of acting came with its own set of enticing perks that further fueled his journey into this captivating domain.
I sat down and I read Ibsen. I thought it was wonderful. I thought what he said was wonderful. Whether I, as an artist, could deliver it, I wasn't sure.
Steve McQueen's romantic escapades were a perpetual source of intrigue for tabloids throughout his career. Even in his early days while attending acting classes in New York City, he was already navigating relationships with fellow aspiring artists. One such liaison was with actress Gia Scala. Although Scala didn't attain the same level of success as McQueen, she made her mark in numerous Hollywood films during the 1950s and 1960s.
I don't know. I suppose that opposites attract, but I guess it was ever a thing of falling in love with a girl at first sight. I guess that was it, because, boy, I sure had to chase her for a long time.
Their romance, characterized by its intensity, proved to be short-lived. Perhaps Scala didn't quite appreciate McQueen's weekend activities, leading to the eventual end of their wild fling. While the GI Bill provided Steve McQueen with a starting point in New York City, it wasn't a perpetual source of income. Resourceful and determined, McQueen turned to his other skills to make ends meet. Racing motorcycles became his weekend pursuit, serving as a financial support for his burgeoning acting career. McQueen's natural talent on the racetrack quickly became evident, earning him around $100 every weekend, a sum equivalent to approximately $1,000 today. In an alternate trajectory, McQueen might have carved a career as a professional racer. However, destiny had other plans, and stardom on the silver screen awaited him. In 1955, recognizing the limited opportunities in New York City, Steve McQueen decided to venture westward to try his luck in Hollywood. It was in the City of Angels that he encountered his first love. Approximately a year after his arrival in LA, McQueen tied the knot with the stunning actress Neil Adams. The couple would later welcome 2 children into their lives.
She thought I was a little crazy, you know. There's a great deal of compromise involved, you know, in movies, I suppose, and
While their marriage would eventually face challenges, the initial years were marked by happiness. Concurrently, as McQueen was building a family, his career began to ascend, signaling the simultaneous rise of personal and professional chapters in his life. Hollywood proved to be a more promising landscape for Steve McQueen than New York. Before long, he secured a leading role in a feature film. Admittedly, the movie was The Blob, a B-movie with a touch of schlock that premiered alongside I Married a Monster from Outer Space. Nevertheless, it played a crucial role in putting McQueen on the entertainment map. Additionally, the film opened doors for him, leading to a role in a TV pilot for a new Western series.
I do enjoy acting. It's a great craft, you know. I mean, it's a marvelous kind of feeling, you know.
The series, titled Wanted, Dead, or Alive, cast McQueen as the rugged anti-hero bounty hunter Josh Randall. This character not only captivated audiences, but also solidified Steve McQueen as a bona fide star. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of his remarkable journey in the world of entertainment. Wanted, Dead, or Alive marked Steve McQueen's breakthrough into the big time, setting the stage for some of his most iconic roles to follow, including standout performances in The Magnificent Seven and The Great Escape. After a decade of persistence, Steve McQueen had unequivocally arrived, establishing himself as Hollywood's newest leading man. What set him apart was not just his talent, but a willingness to undertake challenges that few actors dared to, or even could for that matter.
I felt that if you can take someone off of the streets, and I'm 47 years old, but basically, I come from the gutter.
Those who had the opportunity to work with McQueen could attest to his unique approach and a readiness to tackle roles and stunts that set him apart from his peers in the industry. In 1968, McQueen landed the most iconic role of his career, Bullitt, a movie about a tough San Francisco cop who drives a Mustang and gets into a thrilling car chase through the winding streets of the city. What could go wrong? Well, actually, it turns out a lot could go wrong. In fact, despite the final result, Bullitt very nearly ruined McQueen's career.
Now, what went wrong, Lieutenant?
Who else knew where he was?
What?
Who else knew where he was?
What are you implying?
The production of Bullitt turned into a perfectionist's endeavor, with both director Peter Yates and Steve McQueen driving the film far beyond its initial budget, much to the dismay of Warner Brothers studio executives. Prior to the filming, McQueen had a substantial contract with the studio, outlining plans for him to star in 7 more movies. However, the escalating costs and challenges during the making of Bullitt prompted the studio to make a drastic decision.
If someone wanted to do it as a film, would love me to do it, but he didn't want to let it go. I read several classics. I'm not a learned person. I don't read.
In response to the budgetary overruns, Warner Brothers opted to cancel McQueen's contract even before the release of Bullitt. In hindsight, this decision would be regarded as one of the most ill-advised moves in Hollywood history, as Bullitt went on to become a significant success and a classic in the genre. The film's impact demonstrated that McQueen's commitment to perfectionism, despite the financial concerns at the time, ultimately paid off in the eyes of audiences and critics alike. In 1966, a lavish promotional party was hosted by movie producer Joseph Levine to celebrate the impending release of Steve McQueen's Western epic, Nevada Smith. Held at Paramount Studios, the event attracted some of the most prominent stars in Hollywood, turning it into one of the season's grandest social gatherings. However, real-life events took a peculiar turn, foreshadowing McQueen's later on-screen heroics in The Towering Inferno. Amidst the festivities, a perilous fire broke out less than 100 yards away on one of the studio sets, casting a sudden pall over the celebration. Despite the potential danger, almost all the guests were promptly evacuated. However, Steve McQueen, in a move reminiscent of his daring on-screen roles, chose to immerse himself in the heart of the crisis.
I can understand why. I'm not sure the film will make any money. I don't know that people will really care about that. I think that audiences per se, at least I used to, that if a man works very, very hard.
While the fire raged on, McQueen joined forces with professional firefighters, actively participating in the battle against the growing blaze. The fire, now visible throughout Hollywood, posed a formidable challenge, but McQueen's bravery, alongside that of the firefighting professionals, contributed to successfully containing the inferno. Remarkably, cameramen present at the event captured footage of McQueen courageously fighting the blaze alongside the trained firefighters, adding another chapter to the legendary actor's reputation for real-life heroics. His fights within the industry never stopped early. Another life-changing event happened in his life, and he ended up in the hit list. The night of August 9, 1969, marked a tragic moment in Hollywood history when followers of cult leader Charles Manson entered the rental home of Sharon Tate and her husband, director Roman Polanski, brutally murdering those present, including the 8-month pregnant Tate and a teen visitor. The heinous Keong spree continued at another home, claiming 2 more lives.
Every man I met wanted to be him. Every woman wanted to sleep with him.
Steve had an edge.
Interestingly, Steve McQueen was initially on the guest list for the ill-fated gathering, but never arrived. As detailed in the 2012 biography, Steve McQueen, a biography by Mark Elliott, McQueen had planned to join the victims for dinner that night, but changed his plans. Instead, he followed his impulses elsewhere, narrowly escaping the gruesome fate that awaited the attendees. While McQueen was long married to dancer Neil Adams, he was known for his extramarital affairs. According to Elliott's book, one of his likely liaisons was with Sharon Tate. Their alleged involvement was said to have occurred before and possibly after Tate's marriage to Roman Polanski. On August 7, 1969, just 2 days before the tragic event, McQueen visited Jay Sebring, a mutual friend of his and Tate's, for a haircut. Sebring, Tate's one-time fiancé, invited McQueen to the ill-fated dinner at 10050 Cielo Drive, a dinner that McQueen narrowly avoided, and that would have had him listed on Manson's vengeful hit list.
Speed, machinery for his balls.
Man becomes what he dreams. He did push the envelope.
McQueen told Sebring he would attend and even invited his The Magnificent Seven and Bullitt co-star Robert Vaughn to come along. Vaughn already had plans. McQueen likely would have been in the house when the Manson cult entered, had he not canceled his plans after receiving a call from a young and beautiful blonde he was seeing at the time, who told him she had a better idea for just the 2 of them, according to his biography. Adams has confirmed this account, telling The Telegraph that McQueen skipped the dinner in favor of one-on-one activities when he ran into a chickie and decided to go off with her instead. In the years prior to the Keongs, Manson had hovered at the edges of Hollywood, running into the likes of the Beach Boys and Neil Young as he sought out a music career of his own. This time left him holding a number of grudges for slights both real and perceived. Sinatra and Jones, for example, were fellow singers Manson felt he was in competition with. He further thought Jones had sold out. As for McQueen, he had landed on the murderer's bad side through an actual altercation. The trials did not stop here. He was diagnosed with cancer. Not too surprising, given how much he smoked, but even when he quit, the cough remained. He tried antibiotic treatments, but still, he couldn't stop coughing. He finally went in for a biopsy, and the result was devastating. Doctors found pleural mesothelioma in his lungs. In other words, Steve McQueen had cancer. The news was heartbreaking enough, but it got worse, and he died eventually. One of his fans wrote, "My first time seeing Mr. McQueen. I've known about him because I'm a longtime fan of Bruce Lee. I heard that Mr. McQueen was known to be a really tough dude, but he comes across as a friendly, personable fellow as well." Another one added, "Steve was streetwise. He had a hard upbringing towards the end of his life. He turned to God. I hope he found him. He was a great actor that left a great legacy on screen, a true legend, R.I.P. Steve McQueen." That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.